Campus-based women's resource centers emerged out of the women's liberation movement in the 1960s and the 1970s due to concerns about gender equity, to raise consciousness of women, and to focus on questions of access. The first women's center was established in 1960 at the University of Minnesota. By 2009, there were over 490 women's centers on college campuses with the purpose to engage in social activism and feminist issues. Women's centers are most known for their programs and services that address gender-related issues such as Take Back the Night and the Vagina Monologues. But they also provide support services and collaborate with other populations who remain underrepresented in higher education. For example, Michigan State University's Women's Resource Center has a listserv specifically for women of color on campus. Other women's centers offer and host special services, support groups, and discussion groups for the LGBTQ population, while others have tours for students with disabilities to make the campus more accessible. It is also common for women's centers to collaborate with Men's Rape Prevention Project during Rape Awareness Week for extensive programming. Another purpose that they serve is to break down hierarchical barriers by uniting faculty, staff, and students to build networks and organize around common interests and issues. One center hosts a faculty women's dinner once a month. While women's centers share the same goals and purposes, each center has its own unique flavor. Washington State University Women's Resource Center has a women's transit program that started in 1977 to prevent sexual assault. It provides free door-to-door transportation for women so that they do not have to walk alone at night. Duke University's Women's Center runs a car repair workshop every semester. Despite the amazing work and impact of women's centers, they still face barriers such as funding, attitude towards feminism, unsupportive administration, and visibility. Even though women are now the majority in higher education today, gender discrimination and violence still exist, which is why women's resource centers are still relevant and necessary in retaining female students through their resources, programs, and services that continue to advocate for equity and change, and that confront gender biases and stereotypes, and improve status of and the climate for women. It's important to remember that this is not just a women's issue, because no one is free when others are oppressed. As someone who aspires to one day be a director of a women's center, I am heartbroken that my institution does not have a women's center. Attending the NASPER conference will not only allow me to network with people who work at women's centers, but to also exchange knowledge about programs and services so that I can bring it back to the university or even start a women's center.